you want a board and what you want it for. Okay, so sometimes then too, a board, if it's too small, be ineffective. So you have, how many of you would like more board members? How many of you? So, yeah. The goal is, I think, to do that. The other thing that I recommend, many of you have written in your bylaws your board size. So our boards will be, let's say, from 11 minimum to, let's say, 30 maximum. I oftentimes recommend never fill your max. You know, for some boards, people may be fighting to get on them. That's the ideal world, isn't it? You know, turn them away at the door. I've never experienced that, frankly. My boards are always hustling out there. But, you know, leave a couple spaces open because while boards you typically once a year begin to appoint people to boards. If you run into a fabulous person and you want them right away, leave that space open so you're not in violation of your bylaws, okay? All righty, so the size depends upon what you need and what stage you're in, okay? So it's affected. All righty, let's look at next. Okay, so board has effective processes for recruiting, orienting, and developing members. How many said I kind of disagree or somewhat agree? Yeah, big challenge. A sloppy, haphazard process results in members who perform that way, unfortunately, when you're recruiting when you're recruiting board members. And I think what you'll find is that for a sloppy process, when people aren't paying attention to recruiting good board members, what you get is people who sit on your board rather than people who serve on your board. And there's a real difference between sitting and serving. And so your goal is to find people that serve. Okay. Let's go for some specifics. How am I doing? Okay, quick. All right, recruitment. I'm going to go pretty quickly through there. There's a formal process on board committees for identifying and nominating new members. This is a formal process. You have somebody in charge of it. They meet at a certain time each year. They have set things to do. They clearly identify what's the expertise that we need, what's our long-range plan, how do we know where we're going, what do we need to target for now, and let's now develop a whole list of people that we know and that other people that we can contact to start recruiting for new. So it's a very systematic process. Okay. Recruitment's linked, as I said, to the strategic plan. In recruiting conversations, oh wait, let me back up and tell you a story about what happens when it doesn't. We have an agency that we've worked with as one of our investees, and I have a good friend who's just great in finance, okay? And so I call the chair of this one of our investees and say, look, I have a friend who's just great at finance, and I know that would be a compliment to your board. Oh, he says, that's great. Here's the name of the woman who's in charge of our board recruitment committee. Why don't you call her with that name? Okay? So something's gone wrong already. What is that? He referred me already, right? What should he say? What should he have said? Give me the name? I'll contact her right away. Okay, but let's say okay, now we go to step 2. So I call and I leave a message and, you know, I just say, you know, look, this is, and she finally calls me back 3 weeks later, okay? I give her the name, I give her the phone number, and my friend never hears back again. All right, well, you got it. You got it. Well, you know, they weren't going to meet for 6 months. So she just kind of didn't bother. Okay, so look how critical that function is. Look how critical it is that you just put the top people that's chair of your recruitment committee, because it's the most essential function. Anyway, okay, in recruiting conversations, expectations of board members need to be clearly stated. And you know how you're talking about, here's what's expected of you of a board. What area do you think of roles and responsibilities of a board member is which people are the most mush-mouthed about? Fundraising, absolutely, absolutely. And so many boards are, we want you to make a personally meaningful contribution, okay? Some do, and he probably, Ray may have talked about the give and get, you know, we expect you. Some boards do that, even though I think that might set an upper limit. But I'll tell you a quick story on another friend was contacted to join a board. And they said, you're expected to make a personally meaningful contribution. And she says, that's fine. She goes to board orientation. She looks down on the board orientation sheet. And it says, along with the personally meaningful contribution, they have an annual event where they honor somebody, and the board member is expected to buy a table. How much do you think that table cost? $2,500. Okay. She looked at that and she thought, my personally meaningful contribution was going to be like $2,000. She was really upset. She felt that she had been undermined. She felt that she had been misled. She resigned at the end of board orientation. So clarity around expectations. Really talk to them about the time they have. Are you expected? Hopefully each board member serves on a committee. Each board member does this and that. Definitely be clear in those conversations. Finally, on recruitment. On your board recruitment committee, bring some outsiders in. Bring people that aren't on your board to help you out with that. You know, and then they can go out and contact people. Okay, go on. Orientation, what do I need to say? Just make sure you do it. You know, provide it in a timely way. This is a great way to show off what's great about your agency. Take them on a field trip when you're doing orientation. In fact, do orientation. You know, one of our industees is called Art's a Reason to Survive. And gosh, I'd be doing orientation in the middle of the room where all the kids are doing art. I mean, take them to a place that they can get excited about the service that you guys are doing. You know, it's really critical. The other thing is talk about the norms and culture of the board. I think a board chair or the ED can say, you know, this is how our board operates. You know, it's kind of helpful to know that ahead of time. Okay. And consider appointing a buddy to do board members. Does anybody do a buddy appointment to a new board member? Yeah, it's a great way to, you know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it helps. You know, they call them ahead of time. They do all those good things with them. Okay. Development. What's development mean? Okay. Committee rotations are probably the best way to develop board members, to give them increased knowledge of things. What that means is your chairs need to rotate too. So if you can change committee chairs every 2 to 3 years, it'll be really helpful. Getting smart's the key to governing smart, to the extent that you can do ongoing board member education. It doesn't stop at orientation. Mini seminars, study groups, whatever, all those sorts of good things. And if you want to know how to determine what's relevant to board members, you just ask them. You know, we're looking at our education this year. What are the areas you want to know more about? Write them down. You know, bring some folks in. Yeah. Okay. What do you need to know in order to be a more valuable board member? Yes?
Have you seen boards articulate that this is an expectation in their board responsibilities, that board members are expected to participate in some kind of...
I'd love it. I haven't seen it very often, but I think it would be great.
It's in ours.
It's in yours? Excellent. Board members are expected. Super. Very good. To participate? How is it written?
Professional development.
A board member is expected to participate in professional development. It's a great way. So if there's a one-day meeting, if there's like a meeting like this is professional education. Great. Great. Then at the end of the year, by the way, when we get back-to-back boards and members evaluate themselves, you can ask them what they did that year in professional development. Okay, good. All righty. So let me move on. Okay. Board has appropriate committees with clear charters. Okay, 30 minutes. Good. Thanks, Vicki. Okay. We'll be done easily. All right. The lack of a functioning committee structure is another reason the boards fail to perform, is the committees just aren't working effectively. Okay. Boards today have an average of 5.4 committees. Okay. How's that for statistics that you have no idea how useful that is at all? Yeah. Okay. One of the things, established committees. When do you establish a committee? In fact, for a while, there were just too many committees and many boards, and they were just burning people out, and they didn't have anything to do. So